move on then and discuss the Cork hurlers ahead of the 2023 inter-county season. Obviously, last year, Cork getting to the league final, obviously losing to Waterford quite comprehensively in the end, and then obviously getting beat in the All-Ireland quarter-finals. So, I mean, looking back at last year, obviously for Cork, I mean, some good moments, some bad moments. You obviously started the Munster round robin very, very slow and couldn't really get going, but then incredibly sort of turned it around, and it actually looked like Kieran Kingston had got a bit of a tune out of these lads. So how would you look back on last year for the Cork hurlers?
Very mixed bag. I suppose the league, like I wouldn't really count Division 1 group games as being challenges, because most big teams in hurling know they're not going to get relegated, so they're just going to play B teams. And Cork were really the same. And Cork just probably got lucky against Waterford. They got destroyed in the league final, and it was very, very bad to watch. And then the Limerick game, especially, very poor. I know Shane Kingston scored that early goal, and then things started to go downhill from there. We didn't defend properly. We gave Limerick, I think, over near 30 or 40 chances in the game, especially in Park and Keeve. You can't allow that against that Limerick team, and especially against Clare. The performance in particular was very poor, and summed up by the red card at the end. But somehow, against Waterford, we somehow found some rhythm. I don't know where it came from. And like that Waterford team winning the league, a lot of people thinking they're going to win this game at a canter, but Cork somehow came out fighting in that game. It was incredible. And Tipperary, no, but I think it was down to the fact that last game, Tipperary were very, very poor last year, and Cork just was to victory in that game. Then against Antrim even, we struggled badly. Antrim could have won that game on any other day if things just went their way at some point in the game. Antrim could have beat Cork. And then in the quarterfinal against Galway, it was a case of, even the Galway fans are admitting this, Galway didn't win it, Cork lost it. The amount of chances we missed in that game were kind of inexcusable. Like Connolly had, I don't know how many missed frees he had in that game. And yeah, it was a pretty poor end to the year, but Kieran Kingston's gone now. We have Pat Ryan coming in. And I think I've said this to many Cork fans over the past few weeks or so. I think he's coming in under the radar. When you look at Davy Fitz coming in at Waterford, Liam Catlin at Tipperary, I think, and Brian Lowen obviously, and John Coyne being excellent last season. I think a lot of people are looking at Cork and Pat Ryan, even though he's won 220 titles. His CV is very, very good. Like he did very well at Sarsfields as well, and he should have been in the Cork hurling job, I think, earlier, in my opinion. He's an excellent coach. So we'll see how it goes this season. And there's been some good performances in the Cork Hurling Championship. I wouldn't say it's the best quality of hurling championship, to be honest with you. But it's another year of Cork hurling fan. And we're edging towards 20 years without All-Ireland. And that's not good enough for Cork whatsoever. And we have to perform better than this, and this hopefully will be the start of a new era. But as I've said before this, in years and years gone by, Limerick look an absolute animal of a team. They're absolutely incredible, and it's hard to see anybody stopping them this season. They're an incredible team, but hopefully Cork will get to an All-Ireland semi-final at least this season, and get to know what it feels to, be at the end of a heartbreaking defeat in the semi-final, and maybe it'll drive on the players even more. But we'll see how it goes this season. But I don't think All-Ireland is in this team, not this season anyway, when you look at Limerick.
Yeah, and obviously Kieran Kingston stepping down as Cork manager. He'd obviously been there, I think 4 years at the helm, and obviously in his time he obviously got Cork to that All-Ireland final in 2021, which they're comprehensively beat by Limerick. But like, how would you look back at Kieran Kingston's time overall as manager of the Cork hurlers, and ultimately, like, where did it go wrong, do you think, when you look back?
Jeez, like, I think a load of things actually went wrong. The team selection was a big thing. A lot of people, I know Cork fans are saying this over and over again, that Patrick Horgan should start, but in my honest opinion, he's past his best now. He has to be on the bench. And I think there was that sort of willingness for Patrick Horgan to start. I don't think he's that good anymore, to be honest with you. We should have started young talents, Alan Connolly, Colin O'Brien, Seamus Harden even, I think, is still is a better player right now than Patrick Horgan. We've been putting Kieran Kingston on the bench when I don't know what was the issue there, to be honest with you. He's probably our best forward. We still stick him on the bench for some strange reason. And I think the 2021 run, in particular, the All-Ireland final, I've said this before as well, we had an easy run to the final when you look at it. We played against a Clare team that were trying to find their feet, and Clare could have beat us that day. We were playing a Dublin team that were affected by COVID, and then we played a Kilkenny team who I thought were very, very poor that season, and we still could have beaten them after 70 minutes of action. So, and then it just showed in the All-Ireland final, Limerick absolutely wiped us, So, I think the 2021 run, a lot of people were getting their hopes up, and then in the league form as well, we beat Limerick. I remember that specific day in the Gaelic ground when we beat Limerick, and a lot of people were saying Cork for the All-Ireland. We're turning a corner now. The famine is over, and I was just saying, relax, lads. It's the league. Limerick aren't putting out a strong team. They were putting Barry Hennessy in goal instead of Nicky Quaid, for example. So, we need to be performing in Munster Championships. The league is just for trying out new players, and we have to do that again this year. Try out the likes of Stephen Cotton, Colin O'Brien, all these players, and Brian Hayes, now that he's gone to the hurlers. If he's gone to the hurlers, we may as well use him now. So, that's the way we have to go about this year. Not to put too much emphasis on the league now, and put out a team that's kind of experimental, and then go hell for leather to the Munster Championship after that. And we have to get over the group after that as well and get to All-Ireland semi-final. That's the minimum aim for Cork, to be honest with you. But you have to win All-Irelands. I don't think we're going to win it this year, to be honest with you. Pat Ryan will be stamping his authority on the team, and we'll have to see how it goes this season. But I think this year is a bit too soon for that.
Yeah, why do you think the appointment of Pat Ryan has gone under the radar? Because obviously, you mentioned there, like Davy Fitz going into Waterford, Liam Cahill obviously going to Tipperary, you'd Micheál Donoghue going to Dublin, like a lot of big profile managers. Do you think that's sort of the main reason why Pat Ryan has gone under the radar? And what is the buzz and expectation like? Because as you said, he's won under 20 All-Irelands. He's done very well at club level, very good reputation in Cork. So, I'd imagine amongst Cork circles anyway, there is a lot of hype, even if it's not like that on the outside.
Yeah, I suppose it's been very quiet over the last few weeks. I've heard hurling fans in around the area, around Cork City, and there hasn't been much talk about it, to be honest with you. I remember when Keith Rickon was coming into the footballers, and there was a lot of hope and expectation and all that. There's been none with that with Pat Ryan, and he won 220 titles. But I suppose the reason for that is, as you mentioned, Micheál Donoghue going into Dublin. Obviously, Derek Lynn going into Kilkenny. There was a lot of talk about Brian Cody retiring as well. Davy Fitz with Donegal Cahill for Barnes Fitz family going in Waterford. Liam Cahill going in at Tipperary. Excuse me. And you look at Clare and Limerick performing well over the last year as well. So there hasn't been much hype really. And when you look at the Cork, the quality really of the Cork Championship, and the fact the Bars lost to Ballyhane, the club championship as well, I don't think there's been much talk, to be honest. But again, that could be a good thing, there was a lot of, after the All-Ireland final, people were saying, Cork will recover, we'll be back next year, we're going to chase the Liam McCarthy for the first time since 2005. Excuse me again. There's been none of that talk this season, and I suppose that's been a good thing. I think, yes, Waterford have Davy Fitz, let Tipperary have Liam Cahill, let them get their hopes up, and we'll, sit quietly in the long grass, as Donal Cusack would say. So, I suppose it has gone under the radar because of the new appointments elsewhere, and I suppose because of our performances last year, they were so poor. That's probably the reason it's gone under the radar. But again, with Pat Ryan's record, I'm kind of surprised at the whole thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and as you said there, there definitely should be a lot of buzz and excitement sort of amongst Cork circles. It kind of does remind me a little bit. I'm not saying the same thing's going to happen, but when John Coyley went to Limerick, he did great record sort of at underage level with Limerick. He'd been heavily involved with Limerick sort of behind the scenes, but he probably didn't have a big reputation as an ex-player, or he wasn't really well known too much sort of outside the county. And obviously John Kiley's first year with Limerick, they were beaten in the championship. They didn't have a championship win, but we all know sort of what happened next. So I think that could almost be a good thing in some ways that he is going under the radar, Pat Ryan, because like a lot of people mightn't be as prepared for a Cork, as maybe you're going up against, Tipperary and Liam Cahill, sort of what he's going to bring to the table. Davy Fitz, very well renowned for setting up his teams in a particular type of way, and you'll probably see Waterford set up maybe quite similarly to the likes of Wexford, Clare, and even Waterford in the past as well. So, I mean, with Pat Ryan obviously coming in there, I mean, it's going under the radar, and I think it could be of big benefit to Cork.
I think it will be, yeah. There's been a lot of hope, even with Jimmy Murphy coming in, Kieran Kingston coming in initially, John Moyler. There was a lot of hope around and expectation around Cork Hurling over the last few seasons. But I think with this going in under the radar and not being talked about often, especially around Cork, I think that's a positive thing because the pressure is off the players. The shackles are off. They could just go into this year and not feel the pressure off the media in a way. Like the media pressure will go on Davy Fitz and Watford, will go on Tipperary. In some ways, Micheál Donoghue and Dublin, let's not forget, Micheál Donoghue is an All-Ireland champion. So there will be pressure for Dublin to deliver. Even Kilkenny, because of the way they performed last year, getting to the All-Ireland final, and Derek Ling to replace Brian Cody. I think there's more pressure actually on Derek Ling than there is on Pat Ryan. That might be a bold statement now, but I think there is, considering what Brian Cody did previous to Ling, so it's going to be a very interesting year how we perform, but I suppose the league won't have the biggest barometer. It's just about trying out new players. The biggest barometer of where this Cork team is developing is the Munster Championship, the group phase of that. If we perform well in that, we'll do well this season. If we don't, simple, we're out of the championship. And you get one chance at it. You get 4 games, you have to win about 2 of them. We have to target 2 wins there at least. Maybe a third, maybe a draw and 2 wins or something like that. Maybe don't target the Limerick game as often because Limerick are just streets ahead of the rest. And maybe go for the Clare, Waterford, the Tipperary games, head for later in those games. Let's not forget with Tipperary. I know Liam Cahill is a good appointment, but this is the same Tipperary team that fell flat in their face last year against Cork. I thought that was, looking at them, that was one of the worst Tipperary teams I've ever seen. It was just lifeless at times. Waterford as well, there's this record of Waterford don't do well in the Munster Championship, in the group phase particularly. It doesn't suit their style. Maybe Davy Fitz will change it, who knows. Clare, I think Clare will have a lot of pressure on them this year as well. After reaching out of the semi-final, after performing so well against Limerick, there'll be a pressure on those players to perform well again this season. And there's not that pressure with Cork this year, this time around. So I think it's going to be brilliant for Pat Ryan just to try out a few new players for the league and give it a right good go in the Munster Championship and let Waterford Tipperary off with their shiny new appointments.
Yeah, and even thinking of that Munster round robin, as you said, I mean, it's gonna be so tough in there, so competitive, as it always is. With the Munster round robin, you always nearly feel sorry for the 2 teams who miss out because of the fact of how ruthless it really is. 1 or 2 defeats, you're gone. The standard in Munster is clearly a lot higher than Leinster. I think it's been like that for a couple of years. I know Kilkenny have sort of done well in Leinster, but I think aside from them, I know Galway are improving, but looking at that Munster round robin, it is going to be so tough with Limerick, with Waterford, Tipperary. There is a lot of change amongst a lot of sides, and obviously Clare, a very, very good side, very good year last year. So, I mean, where do you think Cork could end up amongst that Munster round robin?
It's very tough to call at this early stage. I think, if you were to park the management appointments for now, I think Tipperary would be bottom. To be honest with you, when you look at the group of players there at the moment and the way they performed last year, you'd have to put them last. Second, you'd probably have to put Cork, to be honest with you, in fourth. But at this early stage, it's still impossible to call. Maybe Pat Ryan will change their opinions as the year goes on. We'll have to see about that. I think Clare probably third and Waterford second. Let's not forget with Waterford, they won the league for a reason last year. They're an incredible side. They have Austin Gleeson, Stephen Bennett, a lot of them players around midfield. Jamie Barrett as well, very good player. And a lot of the Ballygunner lads coming back into the fold as well for next season. We'll see how they perform on tomorrow's game on TG Carroll now. But a lot of them players there in that Waterford team, they're an excellent side, and Limerick top, obviously, they're an incredible side, and they'll probably win the All-Ireland game. But if you're talking to me now, probably fourth, but it'll probably change as the year goes on, because as we know, with the Munster round robin, anything can happen. It's an incredible championship. And yeah, as you said, you nearly feel sorry for the two teams going out of it. Even the last few seasons, I think Clare went out in 2019, and people really felt sorry for Clare that season. They didn't perform particularly badly, per se, but it was just the team there. I think Cork, Limerick, and Tipperary were just better than on the year. Like Tipperary won the All-Ireland, Limerick are an incredible side, and Cork got their mojo going. So, and Pat Horgan was incredible that year as well, which helped. So, like, it's a ruthless business, the Munster Championship, and it should be very interesting. No different again this time round.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, and I mean, looking at it then for Cork in the overall aspect of the championship, like what is the aim, the expectation then? Is it just to get out of Munster round robin, see where you go from there, or could maybe Cork go on a run, do something special, maybe like 2021? I mean, as you said, I think everyone at this point would agree that Limerick are the front runners, and unless you're Buff Egan, like, you're not going to be betting against them. So, I mean, what do you think there with Cork? How's the year going to go?
Yeah, you have to mention Buff Egan there, Aaron. Yeah, nice commentary there. But yeah, usually the expectation with Cork is to win the All Ireland. There's nothing, lower than that. It's Cork. It's a tradition with Cork hurling. But for me, if Cork get to the All Ireland semi-final, it's a success this season, because of the way we performed last season, the poor performances, and the fact we're probably so lucky with the draw in 2021. If we can get a big scalp, if we can beat someone like a Kilkenny or well, we're not going to beat Limerick, let's be honest with you. But if we beat a Waterford team on form, if we beat a Kilkenny, if we beat a Galway, that'd be a success this season, and it's something we can maybe build on. If we get out of the Munster group, to be honest with you, that's a success in my book, because it's such a tough championship to get out of. But it's a tough one. I would say semi-finals maybe is probably the aim for Cork hurling this season. But to get out of the Munster group is going to be brilliant as well, considering the tough nature there is. But to win All Ireland, I know it's the expectation of Cork, but I think we're way off Limerick at the moment. And we're probably way off the likes of Kilkenny, Galway, Waterford if they're on form. So yeah, it's going to be difficult to do that. But if we reach an All Ireland semi-final, that'll be a success in my book.
Yeah, like, and you were saying there as well, like, I mean, it has been nearly 20 years since Cork won an All Ireland in hurling. I mean, it's been such a long drought, the longest drought the county has ever been on in terms of not winning an All Ireland at hurling level, at senior level. So, I mean, like, do you think that weight of expectation or anything like that sometimes looms over Cork at times, like in those sort of big games or big moments, and maybe that's sometimes a reason for I suppose dropping short at times in those big games?
You have to say it is, because like the real expectation in Cork, if you get to an All Ireland semi-final, it's a failure. To me, in my book now, it would be a success this season. But to the hurling strongholds in East Cork, in Cork City, the aim for Cork is to win the All Ireland each and every year. Nothing less is acceptable. But you have to put into consideration as well. I know this might seem so kind of like an excuse here, but we've interacted with a brilliant Kilkenny side under Brian Cody that won, 8 All Irelands in 10 years. And we also came up against a Limerick side. They're just unbeatable at the moment. They're absolutely incredible. And you can't see a way that Cork can beat this Limerick side. You look at the strength of them, the physicality, the managerial master in John Coyley. How will we beat this Limerick team? So the general expectations to win the All Ireland, and maybe it has dawned on the players, especially in the game against Galway last year. That's why they missed so many chances, maybe. But yeah, I don't think there'll be expectation as such this season. But it is a difficult one, difficult one to comprehend. Like, we are one of the best. We're probably, in history terms, we're the second most successful hurling team in history, behind Kilkenny. So, look, it's really a difficult one, but for this season alone, I don't think there should be any pressure on the players. Look at the managerial appointment that's going around, and the fact we performed so poor last season. But we'll have to see now this year if it dawns on players. But maybe that's an excuse that Kilkenny and Limerick are just incredible. Maybe it's just Cork fans crying. I'm not sure, but yeah, maybe it has dawned on the players. It's hard to know, really. It's hard to know with the performances we put over the last few seasons.
Yeah, and obviously, as we were saying, I mean, in terms of general predictions, I mean, has anyone beaten Limerick this year? Can anyone come close? I mean, they've won 3 in a row, 4 in a row is coming soon. I think the general discussion amongst a lot of GAA supporters as well is that, you know, they could even come for Dublin's sort of record of 6 in a row. And, you know, obviously it's in Gaelic football, not hurling, but in terms of the overall aspect of GAA, they could be onto something hugely special. So, I mean, can anyone stop them? I don't know. What do you think?
No. Short answer, aren't no at all. This Limerick team is incredible. It'll be there for a few number of years. And you look at the age profile of some of these players. Key Lynch in under 21, I think in 2016, you know. And right now, doing the maths, he's 28 years of age. That's 2 years off 30, you know. And by then, Limerick will win the 5 in a row. And they could be up for 6 in a row then. Oh, jeez. Like, it's going to be another championship that's going to be boring in terms of that next season. I think this Limerick team is incredible. Kilkenny, I think, will fall even further with Brian Cody gone. Derek Ling, we don't know what he'll bring to the table. Galway, I think Galway could be a team to watch in terms of getting to All-Ireland final if they're lucky. Henry Shefflin's a good coach, and I think he's implemented his team. I think he's a good coach there. Waterford, if they get over that hurdle of the Munster round robin, maybe they could cause a few problems, but in terms of the bigger picture, the All-Irelands, no one's stopping Limerick, unfortunately. I think this Limerick team is absolutely incredible, and yeah, we could be in for a few more number of boring years, but for you, Aaron, that record with Dublin 6 in a row could be under scrutiny because this Limerick team ain't stopping.
Yeah, and I've always kind of liked Limerick, to be fair. Like, you know, house shared with people on a J1 from Limerick. I've always had time for the good old Limerick folk, but I don't know, I might have to start supporting other teams this year. You know, I might have to do a buff on it and maybe start supporting Clare and everything else. I suppose lastly, before we finish up, there was a comment from John who said, do you think Sean Meehan will be a big influence for the upcoming season? He was a huge loss for 2022. You saw how things changed when he was taken off versus Galway.
Exactly, John. I actually forgot about that. Thanks for the comment there. Yeah, we performed excellent against Galway. People might seem to forget that. The All-Ireland finalist in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, Blake Murphy, scores a brilliant goal. We were, you know, brilliant defensive. Would you see him as a number 3 or number 6? Probably a number 6, because Daniel O'Mahony would probably be number 3, in my honest opinion. Like, you look at Bar Shanley or Thomas Clancy coming back. So I'd actually play him as a number 6, but I could see him as a number 3 as well. He's that versatile, Sean Meehan. He's an excellent player. And he got an All-Star nominee, and he marked David Clifford out of the game for a reason. But John makes a very good point there. Once he went off against Galway, Damien Comer and Shane Walsh just did their thing and absolutely blitzed Cork. From then on, we lost by 8 points in the end. But before Shane Walsh's brilliant goal, I'm sure Cork were, if memory serves me correctly, Cork were 2 points down at that point. So Sean Meehan is going to be an excellent introduction for Cork, and Daniel O'Mahony and Ciaran O'Hanlon. That's my point with Cork. Like, we have a lot of players that were injured last year coming back into the fold this year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Sean Meehan coming back into the panel, and yeah, should be very interesting.
Perfect stuff. Well, look, appreciate you jumping on as always, Matthew. Make sure to check out the GAA Statsman podcast over on Instagram and on Spotify, YouTube, all social platforms when people get a chance. And if they could leave a like and subscribe, would be very much appreciated. So cheers, Matthew, for coming on. And who knows, I might see you in Páirc Uí Chaoimh maybe in February at some stage for that game.
Jeez, I hope you're right there, Aaron. But no, I'm doing Erasmus in Scotland. So I will not be in Parky Keith. I'll probably be watching the game on GAA Go. So maybe we could do a live stream then. Who knows? Like watching the game, that'd be brilliant. Sure, I think it's live on TG Car if memory serves me correctly. But yeah, pleasure, man. Pleasure to be on the channel again, and hopefully Cork will perform better than last season in both codes in hurling and football. It is possible, so we'll have to wait and see.